Okay. All right. So I'm taking a poll. Where are we up to?
I don't know.
I have
Yochanan, quiet. Quiet.
sent.
The guy who uses the bookmark does not get a vote.
I have a. Oh, I have a bookmark. What about the woman who uses the bookmark? Because we have this too.
Well, for the women who were here last week, they can't.
Probably a stick
I think
mark.
I bought him at 61, maybe.
You would not have wanted me to bring those.
He
No,
directed that
I
towards
would
me.
not.
That was not about you, Marsha. That was
I
definitely
know,
about me.
I know. I
Sorry.
wanted to, but and he said, "Bubby, I will be good." I was like, "Oh no."
I'm
No,
sure
no.
you will.
While you're running all over the place.
In your own little world. Okay.
Pretty good.
All right, anybody? Any votes? Anyone?
I think it's the bottom of 61, maybe.
61.
Oh, I was
We're
close.
on
I was on
61.
62.
Oh, y'all on 61. I think we're in a new chapter. Wow.
I didn't
No?
know.
All right, Yochanan, go ahead.
We're on page 60 or 61, Dr. Ula. However, right here.
Tess?
You passed it, Derech Hashem.
Oh. Tochias Anyanim. All right, so where is that? What ice? What ice? What ice is that in?
Oh, I see it.
There you go. Look at that.
Subsection 2.
All right.
Section 1, chapter 2, chapter 4, subsection
It's the sixth line above the page number.
Okay.
That's 60.
All right.
You're welcome. Anytime.
What's that? Really? Really, Jody?
All right, so let's get started here.
No, it's serious, really.
I know, I understand completely. Right.
All right, so
I totally get
oh, they gotta fix this. One bulb. That looks terrible.
Don't think too hard.
Need a
now.
stagehand over here.
You put the towel
Call Janie. One if, what was it? One if by land, two if by sea? All right, well, now we know. All right, here we go. So, we should, I think, just start from the beginning of the chapter because it's only a couple lines in anyway. So let's go. Parak Daled. Okay, we're going to talk about, and as we've begun, talking about man's position in the world, exactly how it works, where we are, what we're doing, how all of the different parts and pieces of the plan come together, how they're intended to function. So he says as follows. Matzave shel Adam. The situation of man here in this world. There's two different things that we have to look at. Number one is Tchunas Atzmai shel Adam, is the makeup of man himself, with the different parts and the combinations, all the different things that come together to make man who he is, and the place in which man finds himself, and everything that accompanies man in his journey in this world. Okay, so let's go through them. As far as man himself. Now, I'm just to be politically correct over here. When I was in high school, we had an English teacher who was extremely particular about English, and I guess it made sense he was an English teacher. So he was very clear, and I assume these laws still apply today. But the term "he" can refer to both masculine and feminine. So when we talk about man, we talk about he, his. It's not particular at all. We're not differentiating at all between men and women here. This is all about mankind as a species.
See, that's where I got it.
That's right.
Humankind.
Humankind. Oh gosh. No. So just the same applies in Hebrew as well. So just letting you know. Don't ever think you're off the hook because you're a woman. You know. Nice try. All right. So as far as a man himself is concerned, we've already mentioned how man is a combination of two separate things that have been put together in one. And they are the soul and the body. These are the elements that make man. However, Hine anachnu royim be'einenu, we see with our own eyes, rishayni boy, that the physicality is certainly the primary when it comes to man. And the products of this physicality are certainly the stronger of the two. And again, this is what we discussed last week. The amount of focus that our physical bodies demand is certainly greater than that of our spiritual side of our neshama. As we learn, kihine miyad achlidasa, immediately after being born, kimat kulay chamri, a person is completely physical. Ve'ena seichel payil ba'el ma'at, and the mind, the logic, the reasoning barely works. There's very little reasoning that a newborn is capable of. Ukefi his gadlai, and as it gets older, yelech haseichel halech l'chazek, then the logic, the thinking also becomes increased and greater and stronger. Everyone in their own way, everyone differently, everyone independently. At the end of the day, the person's physicality is not going to leave go of him. To rule over him and to steer him towards its own needs. But if a person is going to become great in their wisdom, in their thinking, and they will become used to and well versed in using their wisdom, and you will strengthen its ways, you'll do it the way it's supposed to be done, then you'll be able to actually conquer your nature, and you will not get rid of the reins of your own desires from your hand, and you will be able to go and lead your life in the way that your logic, that your seichel, your mind, demands that you go. So this is what we covered. The idea here, excuse me, being that a person has a choice. We're made up of two parts. Our physicality certainly is stronger at the onset than our spiritual side. And we have the ability, though, to rise. We have the ability to use our spirituality, to use our minds to conquer our physicality and to rein it in, to have it under control. And if a person is able to do that, we'll learn about exactly how that works and what happens. But this is the first step we have to understand. We are made up of two parts, and the physicality is the stronger of the two parts at the onset. And yet, we have the ability to control our physicality to the point that it is not what leads our lives, rather it's the spirituality that leads our lives. Which is, again, like you said, the opposite of how we start. When we start, we're starting off with purely physical. There's no spirituality in the mind of a baby, right? There's almost no logic in the mind of a baby. It's just instinct. It's just reaction. So, it is this decision-making that we have to understand is what decides how we live our lives.
Can we say that the spiritual is synonymous or related to or correlated with the intellect, the logic?
Very much so. Yeah, they're absolutely connected because he's using them interchangeably.
Even though you would think someone else, you could be spiritual and be very emotional, right? You could feel connected, like you have that. This is at least in many cultures, our culture. We want to feel that connection, but it's not necessarily a logical thing. We want to have that emotional feeling.
So true.
There's no logic to it. There's no intellect. It's a matter of fact. Some people do whatever they want and they feel connected, and it's totally, really, if you look at it through the lens of Torah, and that it's really divorced from anything really spiritual. It's just an emotional expression or feeling. So it's not dictated by logic, and yet we call it spiritual.
Okay, so to address your point, spirituality that is a product of unbridled emotion is typically wrong. It's false. It's based on a person's own imagination. It's not based on truth. So, excuse me, in order to reach a point where true spirituality is leading your life, it has to be a logical journey. If your journey is not accompanied by emotion, that's going to be its own problem, that's for sure. But it certainly needs to be based in logic. It has to be based in seichel, because otherwise, a person's mind can lead them anywhere. You know, you've got a lot of kooky people out there who do all sorts of crazy things in the name of their spirituality. There's no basis to that. It's a figment of their own minds, their own imagination that has come up with something, or someone else's imagination. It's not any better, right? So the way to have proper spirituality is where it's a logic-based, where you understand what you're doing what your mind tells you,
Right.
the messages from your neshama. So your neshama is leading you on the spiritual path. Your mind has to then understand that, and then your body has to do it.
And the instruction manual is the Torah.
Which we'll get to. Yeah.
Can you give an example?
Can I give an example?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, I hope I didn't do
That I really like the detours.
Okay.
Let's take the kamikazes.
Mm-hmm.
They were purely emotionally driven to do anything to win a war. Was that logic driven? Not likely. Maybe the general who commanded them, that was logic. But the actual pilot, no logic there. No chance, right? That's a purely emotional decision, which is logical, and won't get you spiritual growth.
Just like when you put your hand on your finger under hot water and you have a feeling. Similarly, when you're on a spiritual journey, you're using logic to know that the water is hot. But at some point, you want to feel that you're on the right path.
Yes.
And that's what
Yeah,
that is
getting
sort of
there,
what
that's
I
part of the
was
struggle.
getting. That it's not the main component, but it's almost like a reflection of that you're on the right path.
Right.
Like
Okay,
Hashem
so-
is giving it to you as a gift.
Yeah, but your
To feel-
start wasn't the emotion.
No, the start was definitely not the
Right.
emotion.
So that's the difference. Like I said, the journey has to be a logical journey. But if it's not accompanied by emotion, it's going to be flat.
Got it.
For sure.
Which there are many people that carry on in a very logical manner, it's seichel, which is perfectly fine, but they
Right.
don't have those feelings. They don't have all that emotion that some of us or some other people may have.
Right.
And that's okay.
Well,
I mean,
it's
I
not
guess
really okay.
optimally it would be best to infuse the seichel with the emotion, right?
We'll get to there. You know what? Let's get there. He's gonna touch on it in a little bit. So let's move on. What are you confused about?
Keep going. No, I think it'll.
It'll come together.
Let's
All right.
marinate.
All right. So
Let's
let's.
get to chapter 20 and we'll see what's going on.
Okay.
We should all live and be well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Till 120.
100,
All right.
120,
So.
right.
Okay, so. All right, so this is where we left off. So let's get going over here. Ulam, however, the depth of these things that we see around us. That when it comes to the reality of the physical matter that we live with and live in and are made up of, nimtza achirus v'hachoshech b'teva. We will find that the actual physicality of the world is an actual, it's a manifestation of lowliness and darkness. And this is the world of nature. This is the world of physics. This is physicality is a manifestation of darkness. It is obscuring the light of Hashem. And this is very far and the opposite to what the reality of it is. To those who are close to Hashem, v'hamizdabkim b'kedushas, and those who connect to Hashem's holiness. So meaning, the physicality in its simplest state and its most basic understanding is the obscurity of Hashem's light of spirituality. Think about it. The neshama is the spirituality, and it's entirely hidden. It's completely contained by physicality. Physicality is doing nothing but containing, blocking, hiding, and obscuring the light of the neshama that Hashem put into the world. So, in a sense, and again, I stress this is on a surface level, is what he's talking about over here. Physicality is nothing more than hiding and blocking the light of spirituality. So, according to this, ideally, the ideal life would be to be completely aphysical. No physicality whatsoever, just the neshama. That would be the ideal. And that's what he's said until now. Right? We talked about that when the neshama goes up to the world of the souls, it's able to shine, it's able to expand, it's able to live out its fullest. But when it's here in this world, it can't do that. So, at least on the surface, looking at anything physical, what we're seeing is a blocking, a stoppage of spirituality. Disclaimer, it's not the way it's going to be in reality. We're going to explain how it's all supposed to work. But, at least on the surface, this is what it looks to be. Okay. So now, the Hanashama Atzma, the soul itself, even though it is in and of itself pure and elevated, Hine, V'yikanasa hachamri, it goes into the physical body, V'yistabkavai, and it gets stuck in the physical body, Nimtzes gerusha u'dechuya me'enyona hativi. It means it now is divorced and pushed away from what it is naturally, to that which is the opposite of what it itself is. It's spirituality in its highest form that is now stuck inside the opposite of spirituality, in physicality. And it is stuck in this and under physicality with a power that forces it to be there. It cannot leave this position unless it is strong and it's able to act with a strength that is stronger than that power which is keeping it in the physical body. Why, that's not perfectly clear? Okay, so what he's saying right now. I know. I appreciate that. I need to be reminded sometimes.
Body and soul battle.
So what he's saying over here is that Hashem has put the neshama into the body. And in doing so, he's taken two opposites and not just combined them, but put one inside the other. Again, this is all post-sin in the Garden of Eden. The neshama is now contained within the body. They're not working together. One's stuck inside the other. The neshama is completely entangled and contained within the body. The only way it's able to break free of that is if it has a strength that's stronger than what's holding it in.
The neshama has to break.
For the neshama to break free, for the spirituality to become freed of the physical constraints, and needs to have an action that's stronger than the constraint itself.
And that can be done by, because the grace of even they
Well, we'll get there. So
it can be done.
We'll see.
But we're talking about
know-
us.
I know that.
Right.
He's on the right track.
You're just gonna have to come next week.
We have good examples.
That's basketball. That's what's keeping me away.
That's goof, neshama.
Just saying, basketball can start at
Rambam versus.
basketball can start at 10:45.
Yeah.
9:30. 9:30.
That's the
It
time
can start at 10:45.
Not really.
I'm not the head coach.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Let's get back to this. Let's get back to this.
Last time he asked the question, I tell you that.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so in order for the neshama to get out of this, it needs to act with a strength that is stronger than the body's containment of it. It's like someone who's holding someone else. In order to break free, you've got to act with a strength that's stronger than the one holding you, or the object, whatever it is that's holding you. Okay. But since Hashem has decreed that since this connection, the combination of the body and soul needs to remain forever. Now, parentheses, hold that thought. Pirush, meaning, ki perud hamisa, any eladavar lefisha, because the whole idea of death, in which the body and soul separate, is a very temporary thing. Ad chiyas hamesim, it just goes until the resurrection. Ach achar kach tzricha lashon l'guf, because after that it's going right back, the neshama and the body are getting right back together again. Ushneim iskemu yachal l'netzach l'tzachem, and they're both going to remain together forever. So now, end parenthesis, going back to what we said. Hine muchrach, it is absolutely integral, or integral, as people here like to say. Shetishtadel haneshama, shetishtadel haneshama v'tischazek. That the neshama needs to try and be strengthened. And to constantly be waging a war and a battle to fight against the darkness that the physicality is that contains it. Ad, until it gets to a point, sheyishar haguf bilti chashach, that the body gets to a point that it is no longer a manifestation of the darkness. It gets to a point where it becomes so elevated that it doesn't obscure the spirituality of the neshama. V'az, and at that point, yuchol his'ales hu ima, it is able to arise, to elevate, to grow up together with it, the layer ba'ar ha'elyon, and to be enlightened by the light of Hashem. Tachas, instead of mashahayisahi mischasheches v'nishvel asima betchila. Instead of the way it is now, the way it was in the beginning, that the body is darkening the neshama. Okay, so what he said here is that the body, as we've explained, is the physicality. It is the darkness. It is what keeps the neshama from shining. It's what keeps the spirituality from being predominant. And in order for the neshama to break out of that, it's going to have to do something, or many things, perhaps, that are stronger than the power that keeps it contained. Now, it's not talking about separating them, because he says, Hashem already decreed that there isn't going to be a separation. There'll be a temporary separation. That's what death is. But that's not, in the big picture, that's not relevant. In the big picture, the body and soul are together forever. It's not changing, ever. When I say ever, I mean for all eternity. It's never going to change. So, but the body is still the physicality. So there is this lifelong, or lifelong perhaps, battle between the neshama and the body, in which the neshama has to constantly work at breaking out, at removing the darkness of the body. It can't remove the body, because the body and soul are staying together, that's a given. So instead what it has to do is it has to fight the darkness of the body to keep it from being overwhelming and overpowering, and instead the neshama will be able to remove that darkness and turn the tables and overwhelm the body and the physicality of it to the point that it can be elevated. The same way we understand that the body can hide the neshama, we should be able to understand that the neshama can hide the body.
Is that why the water and the honey, that's all that person had to have?
Yes.
Woo.
Because all I hear is minimalism.
And also,
Okay,
Adam's,
well, we're going to get
Adam's
there.
skin was translucent.
Correct. Yes. This is all just what we've been talking about until now. It all connects. I know it's hard to remember, we cover so much each time. But it's all together. The idea is that the same way Adam was originally very minutely physical and predominantly spiritual, and that's how he existed, that's a level we can get back to, and beyond that even. The body can be raised to an even higher level than that, which is what Adam was supposed to do. So yeah, that's how it works. The person is able, and we'll get to the practical side of this in a minute, that's the next part, but a person is able to, or I shouldn't say a person, a neshama is able to break free, not in the sense of separating itself from the body, but from the darkness that the body represents and is the manifestation of, and can purify it to a point where it's no longer has that darkening effect, but on the contrary, it is able to itself be elevated by the neshama, and they can continue to live on together in that elevated state of spirituality. Okay? We all good here? Okay. Watch yourself. Okay. I'm saying watch yourself because or else you know what's going to be next.
Yes, sir. I do.
You're going to be finding someone else to coach that team. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Jody, don't even think about it.
I'm not doing it. Boys don't listen to me. I'm not doing it.
Okay, so
I really don't.
you should get a shift around it. That'll work. That would work. Okay, so don't worry, it's just being recorded. All right. So,
OMG.